Hello, everyone. This is Waleed from CX Snax. It's a pleasure to have a guest with us who I really am excited and happy to introduce. This will be our first session. Our guest was so generous to give me an opportunity to bother him more than once, and I already and we're trying to book more than one session for great stories of a great company that he I think so for about 18 and above years experienced and changed and did huge milestones, which was Disney. Myself and my children have great memories in that organization as a customer. So it's really hard for me to challenge him and show him something bad about Disney and tell him, no,
Yeah.
no, I have bad memories. I think so with what's happening and changing around the world. Until now, Disney has the greatest memory for my children, all of them, for the past, let's say, more than 25 years. They hear and they go back again and going to the stories. It's especially the music of it's a great world. I mean, this was even for me personally when I was younger than now. I remember it as a child. So Mr. Mark is our as they say partner for the coming few sessions. And Mr. Mark, if you could give us a short brief, and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Waleed, thank you so much. And that introduction, it means a great deal to, I think, everyone who works at Disney to really kind of have that satisfaction that it does, that people have incredible, great memories and a lot of fond memories. And I think that, one of the things that Disney prides itself in is understanding that there's a legacy that they need to uphold and they need to really kind of bring to life. And as I like you said, 18 years with the Walt Disney Company. I spent about the first 7 years working inside stores, so in Disney stores where I was face to face with what we call our guests, our customers, our guests, and listened to what they kind of expected of our brand and our company. And I listened to them when they were very happy. I listened to them when they were frustrated. I did my best to really kind of like help them understand sort of what position we were in and how we were able to help them to the best of our ability. I went into marketing, operations, communications, and then spent the last 7 years in something called guest experience. And so guest experience was a brand new team that we introduced at the Disney stores in about 2009. And so it was fascinating.
Disney was, as they say, there. I always say to my partners and friends, then when we talk about customer experience, there are customer experience around the world, and you could see that there are now even pillars which are going under that, like guest experience, visitor experience, patient experience, employee experience, process experience everywhere. Even I think so. We're going to reach to married experience. So I think everything needs to be under an umbrella of customer experience. But when we talk about Disney, there is one of my friends, which I was talking about. When I say there is Apple way, and there is Zappos way, and I see there is Disney way. So each one has its own culture, and then it's as they say own school of how doing that, and especially also in hospitality, we could see the Ritz-Carlton way, Marriott way. So each one of these has a different, as they say, way of presenting how you can really make a moment of truth and a wow factor related to that. So if I may just go through and start with our first session and talk about, you remember we discussed more than multiple sessions that we're going to do and multiple stories. So if I may, let us start with the designing of Disney stores culture. I think so. This is something that I want, would like to know more from your side, and how you really tackled, and really what were the challenges that you faced, you were in the team, and what were the targets. And for sure, the management, as any management, I'm not saying Disney, they would love to see this yesterday, not with a plan for tomorrow. So I'm sure that one of the biggest challenges is how and how much and how you did it. So the floor is yours, but I will be interfering you for when I see something to really challenge you in. So please,
Certainly.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Waleed. Yes. So very brief history of the Disney stores. 1987 is when the Disney stores opened their very first store in a mall. These are the stores that are in shopping malls across first the United States, then it went into Canada, and then it came over to Europe as well. And these were stores that were designed with this idea that we wanted to bring just a tiny bit of the theme parks into hometowns across the country, and then later internationally. And I joined in 1993 and worked in stores from 1993 till the year 2000. And then I joined the corporate team and worked in the corporate for the rest of my career. I had the opportunity to work in the stores, like in the Glendale Galleria, the very first one that was created, as well as on the studio lot in the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank. And that was another joy, and a lot of other both challenges and opportunities when I worked there. But then between 2004 and 2008, the Walt Disney Company decided that it really wasn't in the retail business. It was in the film business and animated feature business. And so what they did is they licensed the operations of the store to another company called Hoop, which was a division of the Children's Place. And for this 4-year period, they really kind of built in their own corporate culture, and a lot of people turned over. There were a lot of people some people were excited, but many people were disappointed. And there were so many changes that happened. And so there was this period of time that the Walt Disney Company had sort of a stepfather type of like relationship, and they really weren't in the day-to-day operations of it. And then in 2008, there came a moment when that other company, Hoop, was like, we're going out of business. We were losing money. We don't want this anymore. And Disney had to decide whether they were going to retain the stores, close the stores, or really kind of like change them dramatically. So there was a gentleman who was assigned as the president of the stores at that time, and his task was to kind of come up with the proposal to how we were going to save the Disney stores, and how we were going to turn them into sort of profitable kind of like locations. And he said, he tells me the story.
If I may,
yes.
The challenges were, at that time, were that location were not really that great, or the customers, the marketing was not doing that good. So what was really one of the reasons that the management felt that, okay, the reasons behind this loss?
That's a fantastic question, Waleed. And I have many answers, but I think one of them was the expansion of the platform. We got up to 500 locations. And there's there was the one thing that people said, there's a really kind of a small town in New York called Buffalo, New York. And they had 3 Disney stores in Buffalo. And there's really no reason why they needed 3 Disney stores. So there was definitely an over expansion of our footprint. And that was one of the things. The second thing was that there was just, there's like new films come out. And then new films are either very popular or they're not popular. But we were trying to sell a lot of merchandise associated with films. And if Disney had films that were not doing very well, like in succession, we would have these moments where we would have whole like quarters or half of years where we were not making money. We were not selling it because nobody wanted Hercules product. Or nobody wanted like Hunchback of Notre Dame product. And not that those are great films. People just didn't want the product.
Clear. Okay, thank you. I wanted to know.
It's a great question, and it's true. It's like you think, well, hey, Disney, they should be able to make money. No, but no, it really, we had those cycles of positivity and unfortunately
Yeah.
negativity. And so there was a board of directors meeting, and Jim went in and said, I've got this plan and it's going to be great. And he says, he tells me the story that as he's telling them in this plan, he could tell that people were like, they weren't really buying it. They weren't really seeing it. And Bob Iger, who is the CEO, really kind of said, Jim, you know what? I appreciate the work that you did, but I'm not seeing anything new. I'm not seeing anything unique. This is a lot of the same things, but I understand you're going to save money, but I don't really see something really groundbreaking. And so then Steve Jobs, the great Steve Jobs, was on the board of directors at that time. And he famously said, listen, we're like a bunch of eggheads up in like Cupertino, California. And somehow we figured out a way to design a place that people like to come to, like to spend time in, and spend a good amount of money in. You're Disney, for crying out loud. Surely you could create a place like that. And then Bob Iger said, Jim, that's the idea. I'm going to give you a certain amount of time and a certain amount of money, and I need you to design that place. So the very first step was really clearly defining the vision and the goals. Make a place that people want to visit, make a place where people want to spend time, and make a place where people want to spend money. And that was it. That's the project. That's how we decided that's what we were going to do. So the second step is so he tells me the story, and I said, I'm in. I want to join this team. I want this to. And so I got a chance to join and lead the guest experience team that really hadn't been developed yet. It was kind of called guest services at the time. And so we all gathered around a table, and store design, the people who design stores, were kind of at the head of the table. And I never forget this meeting when he stands up and says, listen, this is not a store design project. This is not a project that lives or dies because of the store design. Around the table was guest experience, operations, artists, creatives, finance, marketing, product, technology. Everybody's around the table. He said, we are all a part of this. This is all of our responsibility. Nobody has a free pass. Everybody's got to contribute. Everybody's got to kind of like speak up, do what you need, say if you disagree, you need to let everybody know. And so this was the very first time that they kind of said, okay, guest experience, we're going to put you at the head. We're going to design it based on what you tell us and what you believe is the experience. So for the first time, they were going to design a store. We were designing a store from the guest's perspective and the guest at the center of the equation. And so they said,
right. If I please, pardon me.
No.
So because as soon as you said, why are you the head of the table as a guest experience, I had to interfere, because this is my the dream structure of any as small it is a project or as big it is a company, even a country. I honestly always say that I can see it in a lot of organizations that unfortunately the CX team is under different or not reporting correctly. I could remember Jeff Bezos immediately on the table of the board meeting or on the table of the top meeting, they had a chair for the customer, which they listen exactly, which was the responsibility of the customer experience team. The same thing in Apple, the same thing. So, as they say, companies who really excelled and reach to the highest level listen to their customer, and they give them the lead to lead. So I think so. When you said that it really the time that when I hear it is that this is the when you say and feel that now I know I could reach. Now I know that I could really, and because all of the stakeholders with you in this on this table, there is no challenges. They are all with you. They will listen to you. For sure, you need to have some diplomatic, as they say, relations to break the ice with people you know or don't know, or challenges. Each people had a different mind. So pardon me, but thank you very much for giving me that. يعني. So
No, that's
mm,
wonderful to say. And I will tell you, you have almost already, I don't know if you already heard the story, but the very next flight is they turned and said, okay, what should we have at the front? What
mm,
should we have at the middle? What should we have at the back?
mm,
What do people want? And
mhm,
so my response and our response was, you know what, let's ask them. And so the
mhm,
very first thing we did is really kind of go into, we had 500 stores. I mean, we had a lot of stores. we
mm,
we put people outside many stores, and as people were leaving the store, we said, tell me, what drove your visit today? Like, why
mm,
did you come in today? Was there anything special? Was there any reason
mhm,
why you came in? And then, what do you enjoy about shopping at the Disney store? And
mm,
then, what do you wish we could change about shopping at the Disney
mhm,
store? And we gathered all of this data, and this was from data from at Pacific Ocean to Atlantic Ocean, all
mhm,
across the country. We
mhm,
wanted to kind of hear different people's perspective, and we got a lot of data and a
mm,
lot of ideas.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so the third step for you, so it's like we
mm,
got the vision, we got the team,
mhm,
and then it was really kind of get the help, like really kind of like bring in ideas from not just our guests who we really valued their
mhm,
ideas, but really kind of like outside design ideas. So we had design firms
mhm,
come in and present and pitch
mhm,
different
mhm,
ideas and designs.
mhm,
We really wanted to we started doing research into sort of like the psychology of the parent and of the people who were kind of shopping in our stores. And then we really went out to it. We were fortunate, we were
mhm,
blessed, that we had the theme parks and the
mhm,
cruise lines and the Broadway shows and the hotels, resorts,
mhm,
and we went to them and watched what did they do that really surprised, delighted,
mhm,
really kind of was memorable in their experiences,
mhm,
and are there ways to kind of bring those things back to the Disney store?
mhm,
And one example is at the theme parks at Disneyland. If you have kids that like to wake up early and you get there before the gates open,
mhm,
they have something called the opening ceremony or the
mhm,
rope drop. And
mhm,
all of the people are allowed onto the main street, the first place in
mhm,
Disneyland. In Disneyland, we saw it multiple times.
mhm,
And there's this rope that kind of they hold across. And then they say, like there's Jiminy Cricket kind of comes over, and then they say don't run, which
mhm.
everybody runs, but and so they do a countdown, five,
Mhm,
4, 3, 2, 1. They
mhm,
drop the rope, and
mhm,
everybody is able to enter the park at that particular.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And this is a ceremony. This is something that we are doing, like, and that we thought, wow, they do it at Disneyland.
mhm,
And yes, it's a very big deal. It's a big
mhm,
celebration. It's a wonderful world renowned theme park.
mhm,
Why couldn't we do that at a Disney store? Why
mhm,
couldn't we kind of figure out how to do something? And so that's what our team did. Our
mhm,
team built a opening ceremony.
mhm,
And as we were designing the store and as we were going into it, we thought we should have music, we should
mhm,
have lights, we should have sound effects, we should have props, we should have, and so we ended up creating almost a small
mhm,
bit of theater
mhm,
that, and the story was that the store was dark. It was all the lights were out,
mhm, mhm,
and then we had a big, like when I say big, I mean really really big
mhm,
a
mhm,
key, and then we
mhm,
had a very large lock at the
mhm,
front, and
mhm,
it was a prop,
mhm,
there were stanchions that came off of the lock, and so everybody was behind those stanchions, and so
mhm,
we started. The story was that children have a better imagination than
mhm,
grown-ups,
mhm,
and so we would select a child from
mhm,
the crowd, or not
mhm,
crowds, from the few people who were there at 10
mhm,
a.m.
mhm,
in a mall in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or whatever it
mhm,
was. And
mhm,
we say, would you like to be part of the celebration?
mhm,
And they said yes. And
mhm,
so what we did is we start the music, and there's this ceremony
mhm,
of the key coming to the front. We
mhm,
hand the key, which is very large, and we help them lift it up, put it into the lock, and we do a countdown.
mhm,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They
mhm,
turn the key, the ropes fall,
mhm,
music starts, lights all go on,
mhm,
and there is a sense of celebration, a sense that there is something important that's happening.
mhm,
And this was one thing that we called a ritual. And the
mhm,
ritual was something that you do no matter what day it is, no matter if there's nobody out in front of a
mhm.
store, somebody who works there, a cast member, is going to do the key turning.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And
Mhm,
so I don't know how well you know American baseball, but in American baseball, there is something called the first pitch. It's a ceremony. Somebody goes out, has the ball, throws the ball.
Just switch,
And
yeah.
so this is not a player. This is somebody who is being either honored or recognized at that time. And there is no rule that says you have to have that pitch. But if you're ever at a baseball game and they don't do it, something feels weird, something feels off. And so ritual is something we came to define as no excuses if to not do it. It's you must do it. You must do it in order to build the culture, in order to build the reputation, in order to really kind of build the experience for the guests who are there. So it's something that's not easy and it takes a lot of work. And oh, by the way, the child who helped unlock the door, they received a very small commemorative key, yes, which was a memento of their participation in our ceremony. So that's just
I'm
yes,
sorry,
please.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's okay.
I think so. You remind me of that what Apple does every time they open the store, which is the greeting that they do, the same greeting in the cloud with even announcement of new iPhones and all of that. I'm not meaning of doing any marketing for anybody else, but I think so it happened. But there are two things that that I would like to highlight. Maybe we could have a discussion later on. One is that this differentiates, as they say, the e-commerce than the brick and stone stores. E-commerce, you cannot do this celebration as much as you can. Okay, you will send a token, you could send anything, but it will never happen. The customer will only remember you through the e-commerce that you were simple, you helped me, and it was there. So it's a challenge for them to have a memorable moment with the customer. But the brick and store, no, it stays forever. So when you use this strategy, which is the main strategy between that, make it something memorable as a human to human, and this is you didn't do any marketing. It will help you on your marketing. You didn't do any basically discounts. You didn't do anything. You just made a story behind it. So I think so. Genius with all praises, genius. And the second thing is that, I really hope that a lot of countries, or a lot of basically not just countries, which are businessmen, that they really look into how that from a customer experience perspective led, and this is what happened. This is one thing. So I'm sorry again.
No, don't be sorry. No, I that is, that insight is so important. And it wasn't, so this is 2010 or 08, 09, and then we finally opened our first store in 10. But in this designed period, one of the things that we did, which was I thought ingenious, was that we created a laboratory. So when Bob Iger said, you have this much time, this much money, and we're giving you a lab. And so Disney has a lot of buildings in the Burbank and Glendale area. There was one that was empty. And so we were allowed to really kind of just create in this laboratory setting. And so we created a mock-up that had a bunch of ideas, and a bunch of them didn't work. Or a bunch of them, like, we just said, no, this is not going to, we're not able to kind of do this. So there were just all kinds of different types of floor that were on the ground. There were different colors that were on the walls. And then we created a lot of things out of foam core. And we decided, let's see if we can kind of like at least visualize how big, how tall. And there were two designs that, when the design firms came back and delivered their presentations, we're doing all of this guest kind of like research and analysis and things. And the store design team is working on like, okay, what's going to be the aesthetic? What is going to look like? So there was one design team that came up with something, and this is, remember, 2008. So the iPhone barely had come out, like maybe a
Mm,
year before. There was
mm,
no iPads yet.
mm,
It was going to come out in 2009. And
mm,
so there is, this like technology is good, but it's not anything like it is
mm,
today. And so this design firm said they wanted to do it all about technology, lights, audio technology,
mm,
visual technology, handheld
mm,
technology, everything that was still kind of in its infancy. They were like, we can do all of these wonderful things, and it's going to be called imagination. And it's going to be so technically sort of like heavy that
mm,
people are going to be like, wow, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. There was another design firm that came in and they said, think about the one place in the world, or in this, no matter where you go in the world,
mm,
you find this place and you don't want to leave. And we're
mm,
like, what? And so they said, the perfect place that most people enjoy is a city park. And I'm
mm,
like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
mhm,
Yes, a city park. People come to the park and people like to stay at the park and
mhm,
people enjoy their time at the park. So they had a design which was all around park. So there were
mm,
trees and there was a kind of like a river, and then there was like a bandstand. And we're like, okay, that seems interesting.
mm,
Oh, and there was like a little place where kids could
mm,
play.
mm,
And we're like, okay, that's interesting, but yeah, we have to like make money. We need to like sell stuff.
mm, mm,
We can't just have a playground inside of a very expensive,
mhm,
real estate. But then we thought, you know what? We like imagination and we like City Park. So
mm,
we put them together and we
mm,
called this design Imagination Park. So
mhm,
Imagination Park had two, like a yin and a yang. There was
mhm,
technology and there was experience, and there was like tactile experiences.
mhm,
And so some of the things that we were started to do was say, okay, if the theme is a park, what does a park have? Well, it has
mhm,
trees. It has paths that you
mhm,
walk through. It has playgrounds. It has things. And so the design team, which is amazing, the design
mhm,
teams, they, their, um, their idea, their hypothesis was, we are going to create something that resembles a river, which was a very sparkly, what we ended up calling it the pixie dust path.
mhm,
And the pixie dust path was a blue sprite sparkling that wound through the store at a very odd, it wasn't a straight line, it was very curved.
mhm,
And it went through this path from the front door all the way to the back.
mhm,
Now, what we decided when we were studying human-centric design,
mhm,
what does, like, if you were on a path, what do people expect at the end of a path? They expect a reward. If they've done this journey, they want the top of the mountain, they want the waterfall, they
mhm,
want something. So we built this like a gazebo in the toward the back to the like one side of the store, and in the gazebo was this magnificent video screen. Again, before a lot of the digital screens that are
mhm,
today, it
mhm,
was a projected screen that was a little bit concave. And so the idea was we wanted to create this space for the very small child, the teenage, or maybe like the 9, 10-year-old
mhm,
child, teenager, and a parent.
mhm,
So when we were looking at the guest experience, we were looking at the guest experience through the eyes of people at different heights. And so we wanted to say, what will a parent want? What will a child
mhm,
want? So what we did is we designed this space and then started inviting people in and saying, tell us what you see. Tell us what you noticed. Tell us what you didn't notice. Help us understand what is what were the things that won and what were the things that didn't win in this
mhm.
space. So
Uh,
a lot of testing, a
Yeah,
lot of trial.
that was amazing, amazing. I'm sorry to, as they
Yeah.
say,
No,
to
no.
to to stop you and say, okay, this is, yani, unfortunately, the ending of our first session. Uh,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I don't want to stop, honestly, but we need, yani, yeah, I'm excited to really start on our second session, and I hope all the audience that who sees this would love to hear more on our second session. And thank you for your time, Mark. I really appreciate it. Also, anybody who would like to even have questions, have some information to, they could immediately send us on our LinkedIn profiles or even directly, and more than happy to support and help. We could tackle it in our even next session. Again, thank you, Mark. It was really a pleasure. This was me, Waleed Al Hamdan from CX Snax. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali.